Welcome to the Mortgage Broker Podcast, tailor-made for Canadian mortgage industry professionals. Proudly presented by a Better Way Mortgage Group, this podcast is your trusted source for insider insights, market updates, and strategies to elevate your career in the ever-evolving world of mortgage brokering. Whether you're a seasoned broker with a Better Way Mortgage Group or an industry enthusiast looking to stay ahead, our episodes are designed to empower you with the knowledge and tools you need to excel in the Canadian mortgage space. All right, we're back for another episode of the Mortgage Broker Podcast, and today we're continuing on with our Behind the Broker series, and we're very excited to have Anil Kumar, one of our top agents at a Better Way Mortgage Group and mortgage architects, on the show today. He's got just a wealth of knowledge, one of the most helpful, resourceful agents within our team, and really looking forward to having you here today and jumping into this. So Anil, welcome.
Thank you guys. Thank you, Dean. Thank you, Jason.
Yeah, so just getting into it, maybe a little introduction on yourself, your background, ultimately, how did you find the mortgage industry and doing what you do today?
I took my exam in 2017, October actually. And before that, the only thing I knew about mortgage were my own mortgages. And you'll laugh at it when I say it, twice when I got my mortgages, I didn't even ask about the rate of interest, I just asked about, can I get qualified? This is a property I want to buy. I have 20% down payment. Can I get qualified? Because the reason is I was dealing with people who were referred to me by some friends. So I had so much stress. I said, oh yeah, okay. They said, okay, this is the rate. This is the bank. I said, sure. You think it's good? They said it's good. I was on it. So that was my only exposure to mortgages until I became a mortgage broker. It's a dream for most of us new immigrants, the Canadian dream, right? And being in sales and being in marketing for almost 20 years at that time, I knew that the only way to be successful, the only way to grow is to be self-employed. Right. And of course, if you're in BC, real estate is one of the top careers, especially back then it was. The reason I took up mortgage brokering was the fact that I could take weekends off. I could work from anywhere in the world while I'm traveling. Realtors, they always make more money. They did probably 2.5 times than we do, like on the surface of it. But they don't have their evenings. They don't have their weekends on them. For us, we could be working on weekends, we could be working in the evenings, but if I'm working sitting on the dinner table with my family, they don't mind it as much as they would if I'm away the whole night or away the whole weekend. Right now, I work from a cruise in Bahamas. I work from a resort in Mexico. So that's the main reason I chose this industry, and I won't look back, promise.
Did you have any sort of sales background, or did you just jump right into that whole world?
I've been in sales for the last 25 years now. 25 years plus now, as I would say. So when it comes to soliciting, when it comes to networking, when it comes to starting a new sales job, even in a new industry, it was easier for me as compared to someone younger. The reason is I changed my careers twice. Before moving to Canada, I was in one industry for almost 20 years. And then when I moved to Canada, that industry did not have a future. So I changed industry. I came into home improvement. And I remained in that industry, home improvement, construction sales, and all that stuff before I became a mortgage broker. So
we now know what led you into this career, but what motivates you to continue as a mortgage broker, especially now, and how challenging this job can be?
What keeps me going is the testimonials that you get from our clients. I'm sure it sounds like a cliche, and we hear it from a lot of people in the real estate industry, but that remains the fact that, when you get an approval for a client, you kind of get into a deja vu of the first time when you got your mortgage approved. I remember my first mortgage was a tough one. I was self-employed at that time. I did not have profits. So I had a mortgage broker who helped me looking at the bank statements back then. And he took me to a local credit union. I got a slightly higher interest rate now that I look back, but he got me a conventional mortgage, right? So now when I do that, when I get those results for my clients, the thankfulness that they have and the smiles and, and all that stuff, it keeps me going all the time. And I know that. We are going through a slow patch right now, a bit of a rough patch, I would say. But I know there is definitely light at the end of the tunnel. That I would like to say that.
Well, it's pretty cool that you can think back to your very first experience where you made a client's dream come true or whatever it was. And now you kind of have that same feeling on every transaction as you go forward. I'd imagine that's pretty fulfilling as you go through the day.
No, I'll share a very recent one. I wish I could show you the WhatsApp message. I shared it with my home trust underwriter and my BDM. Very tough file, 6 lenders declined it. Home Trust did it. And that was the last day before such a subject removal. So I sent a message to the client. I said, it looks like your prayers got answered. You know what she said? She said, our prayers got answered when we met you.
Let's end the podcast now.
How amazing is that? I was so humbled by hearing that. And so I shared it with my BDM at Home Trust and the underwriter. I said, this is what you guys do that makes us look like heroes, So, yeah.
Yeah, it's nice when it goes that way because, a lot of times we are that middleman and we can only do so much, and you are at the mercy of what the lender's service or decision is ultimately. So it's nice to get those wins. And just with that, it's a good segue just into client relationships. And I guess, what is your approach to building and maintaining such strong relationships?
In contrary to what I've learned from some of the veterans, that your first phone call should not be that long, and you should just take basic information and stuff. On the contrary, my first phone call is typically 30 to 45 minutes long. But by the end of that call, I have all their information, their kids, their pets' names. I mean, if they're immigrants, where they originally belong to, which city were they from back then, what is their background back home, educational background, university, and all that stuff. And I'm from Indian community, and 80% of my clients are Indian, By the end of our conversation, we usually have a common connection. And that takes you a long way. That takes you a really long way because, you made a connection beyond profession, beyond mortgages, This is one thing that I feel. Make your relationships stronger and go further. And of course, giving them a white glove service all through the way. Last but not the least is, even if you cannot provide the solution, make sure that they get it. I mean, that's the reason, thanks to you guys, that you have introduced us to non-channel lenders. I have made some connections in lenders that we don't have access to that can make exceptions that I know of, fortunately. So, if I cannot find anything in our channel, I said, okay, I'm going to get you this mortgage, because that at least makes one person's, hey, that's a realtor, right? If a realtor sends me a client, even if the realtor doesn't send me a client, what I've loved about doing this is that I make very strong relationship with the realtor. I don't tell you to the client, I'm not making any money. I don't, because it's none of their business whether I'm making money or not, right? Because I'm not telling them how much money I'm making. I don't tell the client. I tell the realtor, I say, hey, I got it done from a bank or a lender beyond our channel, but I did not make any money. But I'm happy that at least you are making money. That way, not only I make that relationship, I make relationship with the realtors as well. And believe you me, all my out-of-province relationships are through realtors only, one or the other way. They love me for that. They send the client to me and say, okay, Anil, we know if you cannot get it done, it's unlikely, because you won't just stop at broker channel. You'll think beyond that as well.
Well, I think there's a lot of key points you made there. I mean, how many brokers are going the extra mile like you are to really understanding the client, who they are, what they're doing, where they're looking to go. And then back to what you were saying before too about, the client who they found you was their dream. I think you said it was on the 6th lender or so that you ended up getting the approval, right? How many brokers are actually going that deep as opposed to giving up after they've gone through 2 or 3 declines, right? You're going forward and you're still pushing and you're trying to get that deal done. And the client, knowing how much you care, is going to get them to stick with you the entire way. So, to me, you're one of the most consistent, high-producing brokers in the industry in general, not just with a better way. And to me, that has to be a glaring reason as to why you've found that success long-term.
I mean, part of what you just said answers this question I'm about to address, but I want to ask it anyways. Like, how do you ensure smooth experience for your clients? Because there's always bumps in the road.
Yes, this is where I think investing in a good CRM system helps, definitely. Yeah. And thanks to you guys, I have Blue Mortgage. I mean, I'm yet to learn to utilize all of it, but I'm utilizing it to good extent. I had a very generic version of it where I used to make an Excel sheet and every step kind of a thing. Yeah. So my office makes sure, it's, my office is my wife and I, we make sure that at least every alternate day we are in touch with the client. Unless the closing is 3 months away, then it's once a week that we're in touch with the client and just update them. Hey, everything good? Or we tell them, hey, like the documents that you gave us, we have submitted to the bank. We haven't heard the update, or we have, and that sort of stuff. So keeping them in continuous loop makes them feel good and confident and less anxious, because especially first time home buyers, we have all been through that process. Yeah. We are very anxious, what's going on, what's next. So, and I make sure to connect with the realtor also at different points. And, just to make sure, I ask them, hey, my lender is going to instruct the mortgage to the solicitor in a few days. What about your conveyance office? Have those guys done it? And, just to make sure that we're all working together. So,
I mean, that's a key point. Like, clients especially hold the lawyer in such high regard, and the amount of mistakes that happen there that you can mitigate just by making those phone calls and staying on top of it. It's huge.
Well, I even know one of your mentors, he taught me one thing with client follow-up is if you're reaching out to a client, even if you don't have news to share, just a touch point to say, hey, I'm working on it, haven't heard back yet. Like that goes such a far distance with clients, is just to know what's in the loop and kind of how things are transpiring.
I just want to shift to some personal development, and main piece is just how do you maintain a healthy work-life balance? I ask that to you especially because I consider you like live and breathe mortgages. Like you're the first to respond on our broker group chats with help and resources. Like how do you maintain a balance and take time for yourself and your family?
Okay. number one thing, that's the most important. It's not directly related, but it is. Try to take out some time for a workout during the day. 15 minutes, 45 minutes, hour and a half, whatever you can. And if you can start your day with that, believe me, that keeps you sane throughout the day. Going out in the fresh air, even just taking a 30 minutes brisk walk, believe me, it does wonders. And that's the only time, I do it for longer. I do it for an hour. That's the only time I don't have my phone on me. And that's the time when I get best of my ideas. Believe you me, this going to lender 6th and 7th sometimes crops up during my morning walk. I've got 4 declines and I'm thinking in the morning, okay, I have 3 days for the subject removal. I should have this client, they deserve it. All our clients deserve it, if they do, right? So that's the time when I get most of my ideas. So that's one. Workout, whatever it works, meditation, walk, gym, whatever works. That's important. That's again, I learned from my mentors long back and that's one. Second thing, involve your family. In the sense that they know what they're doing day to day. I have talks with my sons. My older son, he's actually worked with me in fulfillment for almost 6 months. He knows it. My younger son, I mentor him on everything finance. He's just 18 and I'm sharing it with everyone, who have young kids. He's just 18, but he does crypto, he does stock market, and he's been doing it for the last 3 years now. Wow. He uses my account to trade crypto. The reason I'm saying is because I made him aware of how finance works. I made him aware of how mortgages work. That's how they have empathy in what I do. Yeah. And as far as my wife is concerned, that was the easiest. I made her a mortgage broker, so she cannot complain, right? No, usually she is the one discussing mortgages on the dinner table, not that we do it. And again, coming back to your question, that's how I'm able to maintain it. Even when we go on a holiday, I tell them, I need 3 to 4 hours during the day without any disturbance to finish my work. After it's done, then I'm all yours. And then I'm all theirs, except when I get an odd phone call and say, excuse me, I've got a call from a realtor. So they understand that. And, as long as you're spending time with them, it all works out fine. I've been married for 26 years, saying it on air, but 26 years. So there is something, right?
That's really good feedback. And you definitely are building that finance family. Like, it's going to do wonders for your kids, fast forward and just what they're learning from you and especially your work ethic. I guess with that, what keeps you motivated as continuing to grow as a professional?
Okay. Motivation to grow, it comes from a few different factors. One is, believe it or not, your parents, most of us, we belong to a family of hardworking parents. I've seen my parents slogging. I've seen my parents working hard. So, subliminally, it comes into you as well. That's one, always motivated because we know we have something new to look forward to. We have something to work for our family, for the society, for the contribution that you're making, as a whole to the community, So that's one thing that keeps motivated. Second is your educational background, So you would usually see that when the parents are educated, they make sure that the kids, they reach a certain level, You'll barely see a doctor's parents' kids not finishing graduation, So that goes with us, So my wife and I, we are motivated. We still keep on studying. And because we feel that if our kids see us studying, even at this age, it gives them a subliminal message, that yes, they have to keep going too. There's never an end to learning or growing, So that's what keeps me motivated, learn something new, and then circumstances sometimes, We have had last 2 rough years. I always specialize myself in residential mortgages, but now in the last 2 years have taught me that, we cannot just rely on that. So I started venturing out into a bit of commercial and reverse mortgages as well. That's another motivation of our economy.
That's such a cool point. They always say like your kids might not be listening, but they're always watching.
Oh, yes.
And if they see mom and dad at work, learning, growing, all that, they see you going out on the morning walks, keeping fit and all that. I know my sons, I'll be down working out and he's only 4 years old and he's trying to do push-ups beside me because he sees me doing it. So, yeah. They're always watching. So I love that answer.
Just with that and, staying on top of what's going on in the industry, tools, policy, industry news, just general getting better as a professional and progressing yourself in your career. Are there any books, podcasts, resources that you'd recommend that really stand out to yourself or other brokers?
Yes. Since I started, things have changed a little bit, So there are 3 things here. I channelize my energy or channelize my learning hunger into, so to say. One is industry related stuff, So 4 books that made me what I am today is Be the Better Broker from Dustin Woodhouse. And I say it on air again, I'll always be indebted to Jeremy Hewitt, from CMLSO, who introduced me to his books. That made me what I am today. And I say it to Dustin every time I say him, even if it's twice a month. That's one. So if you're a new broker, just read those 3 books. And thanks to you guys for the Mortgage Logic news,
Yeah.
If you hear Rob every day, you don't need anything else, If you can spend 10, 15 minutes of every day reading what he says, is amazing, right?
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah. And then related to that, I try to avoid newspapers altogether because they're in the business of, spreading rumors, not rumors, spreading scare. I don't believe in that. Go to Statistics Canada, CMHC, right? Those kind of websites, go to Bank of Canada website. If you want real data, go to those websites. Same thing apply with US as well, right? So go to the actual government websites and grab that data and try to interpret it. Nowadays, we have so many beautiful tools like ChatGPT, for example, Gemini. Put that data into that and try to learn the interpretation of that and then transpire it to your clients. Clients love it. Although whether they can make use of it on day-to-day basis or not, but they love that someone is talking to them facts, instead of spreading garbage. That's important. So second aspect is personal development. I make sure that I listen to, I'm a bad reader. Again, thanks to Justin, he hooked me up to Audible. I make sure that I listen to at least one self-help book in 2 months. That's my speed. I can't do anything else. And third is attending events, attending education events, whatever you can afford. There are quite a few free ones, like we do free ones, and you don't have to go personally, even virtually, attend those. I make sure that I keep my balance in all these three, and so far so good.
I think people underestimate looking into StatsCan or looking into CMHC and all that, like just from a day-to-day, like your own knowledge, but you can learn some of the stuff that's going on and relay that to your point, to your clients, but also take tidbits out of that and share it with your realtor partners.
Yep.
Share it with other COIs in the business, like bring value to them. And then, as you've said, you're indebted to people for bringing this to you. They will be indebted to you for bringing that to them. So I think that constant, just keeping in the know of what's going on in the industry and sharing that with other partners, that's going to get you a lot of a buy-in as you go forward.
Couldn't agree more. So just moving into some maybe key business impacts, what is the biggest factor you would say has influenced your business?
Okay. Yeah. I mean, since I've been in sales for dog number of years now, don't want to repeat it again and again. And from my technical background, educational background, it has always impacted my success in all the industry that I worked in. It's product knowledge. Yeah. You should have an in-depth product knowledge. Nothing can replace that. I mean, nothing can replace education. Nothing can replace knowledge, I mean, I know getting a client is difficult and that's what most people look for. But I mean, let's say you have been following up on a realtor for like 3 months and they send a client and you don't know how to help them. Isn't it worse than getting that client in the first place?
100%. Yeah,
right?
That's a great point.
Right? Yeah, it's worse than that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I learned from Dustin. That's what I learned from my mentors in the last 26 years. So before I even joined a brokerage, I had met 7 BDMs. I can name them all.
Yeah.
Zuli, Utu, Suzanne. But, I met 7 BDMs, before I even joined a brokerage. Why? Because I said, okay, let me learn the industry. Let me learn what makes a mortgage broker and not join a bank as a mortgage broker. And that's where I decided, No, I won't start with a bank. I'll start with an independent broker. I know I can do that. Getting clients, I know I can do that. But providing solution is only possible as an independent broker, not as a bank rep. That's what I learned. Yeah. I still believe in that. It shows every month, at least I have 2 files that prove that, being an independent broker is a better idea than being tied up to a bank. Yeah.
That's a great tip. The one thing I wanted to touch on is your community involvement. Since I met you, you spend a lot of time sponsoring and supporting charities and different community functions. Maybe touch on that a little bit and, what that's all about. Again,
it might sound cliche, but I learned it from my granddad, that in the phrase give and take, give comes first. We live with that, our community. So you give first, it comes back. What goes around comes around. So that's what I've learned. And I don't support commercial events so much. I only support community events, I'm from India, so, call me biased, but that reflects Indian culture in a better light, bigger light. And then I'm associated with some community movements back home in India as well. One of them is called Friends for Cause Foundation. India has a very high blindness rate,
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Because people are poor.
Yeah.
There are resources available from the government. And the biggest reason for that is cataract. People are not able to get cataract surgeries on time and they lose their eye because their people are poor. Yeah. So we have someone from here who goes to India for 3 months and we conduct surgeries, free surgeries for people. And we don't do it in the cities. We go to far-flung villages, get people from there, get their surgeries done and do it. I'm deeply involved in that. It's called Friends for Cause Foundation. In those kind of activities is what we are usually involved, myself and my wife, both of us actually.
Even building off of that, just from the broker standpoint, I know you're one of the busiest brokers in the industry, but I always see you continuously giving back to the younger brokers and the up and coming generation. You're the first to answer questions. You're the first to pick up your phone. You're the first to introduce yourself at events. So that whole give before you take, I know that's ingrained in you. I've known you for, 7 or 8 years, and that's just how I see you operate every day.
Thank you.
Hey everyone, Dean here. Quick timeout from the episode to share with you the ABW Tuesday Mortgage Memo, your weekly market highlights sent directly to your inbox every Tuesday. This is certainly one you're not going to want to miss. So make sure to sign up now. You can do so with a link in the show notes, or you can head to joinabw.ca and sign up there. This is a high-level summary of market developments, regulatory updates, and housing trends every Tuesday. So hope you enjoy it, and back to the show. Moving into some tools, tips, and tactics, you touched on a little bit about Blue Mortgage, the CRM that you're using. Are there any other tools or, softwares that you're finding essential to your daily work?
I have paid versions of quite a bit of stuff, including Adobe. Of course, Blue Mortgage, I have the whole shebang, all the signing package and all that stuff, I have that. My son has ChatGPT Pro. I took up Gemini Pro recently. It's a big thing. I'm still learning it. I have some more paid subscriptions to some video makers and some animation cartoon makers and all that stuff that I use every now and then in my social media post. Not as much as I would like to, but I do. So that's pretty much it. And, I have Lender Spotlight. That's a paid thing too. And that's my first go-to.
Yeah.
If I want to look up rates or lender policies, at a glance, the moment a client calls me, okay, what's the best rate? That's not the conversation we'd like to have, but you have to give a reply to a client, and especially if they're coming from a bank, I make sure that I try to give the best competition I can. I said, okay, but you have to tell the rate. So Lender Spotlight is my go-to. I know it's probably $50 or something a month, but it's worth it, especially if you are a newer broker and you want to look up policies. And if you're still learning policies, that's a one-stop shop for looking up the rates and the policies. So that's one of the other things.
I agree. I mean, just policy alone, like the resource there is immense. So I couldn't agree more with that. Just looking at strategies within your business, is there a tip or strategy that's been a game changer for you?
One is product knowledge. I mean, I'm repeating myself, but nothing can beat that. You cannot get around that, period. Second is never give up. Even now, and I'm talking probably 500 files later, even now, at least once in 2 months, I have a file that gets declined by at least 3 to 4 lenders and the 5th lender approves it. Just tomorrow, I'm funding a file. It was declined by 7 lenders, including client's own bank, RBC, and BMO.
Wow.
Plus 5 lenders in the broker channel. Guess what? Not 1, 2 lenders approved it in the broker channel.
Wow.
And I'm talking about all of them are, reputed lenders. So not only I got them an approval, I got them a great rate too from one of the lenders, So this is one biggest tip I have for the younger brokers, never give up until you have exhausted all the resources. I know underwriters' times are precious too. So I'm not saying that you send it to 7 lenders all together. Make sure you have enough time. Make sure you discuss the file with the BDM before you send it in. I know BDM's yes is not always a yes, and that's what happens in those 5 cases. BDM says yes, and I submit the file, and something comes up, and the underwriter says no. Sometimes it's not even the underwriter. Sometimes it's an insurer. Sometimes it's the credit risk. Underwriter approves it. They send it to credit risk. BDM and underwriter are on same page, but credit risk says no, right? Or insurer. This file that I'm telling you that I got done with the 7th lender, 2 insurers declined it, 3rd one did it.
Wow. So it's an insured file. Wow.
It's an insured file.
Wow.
I'm telling you, 7 lenders, 2 insurers, still got it funded at a very competitive rate.
That's just it. Just don't give up, right?
Like I'm telling you, it happens at least once in 2 months, at least. And now I have these 2 files. One I told you about the dream one, that was declined by, it was a B file, but it was declined by 4 or 5, and then the 5th or 6th, they approved it, right? So there we go.
Yeah.
So don't give up.
I know you're a big relationship guy. You mentioned some of the BDMs and all that. Maybe for the younger brokers that are coming up, how important is it to have a really good relationship with your BDM and your lender?
Step number 1. And I think I've shared it in the previous mastermind sessions as well. I might sound selfish. I might sound funny, but BDMs are paid to train us. So make them worth their while. Make it worth their while. They are paid to train us because until they train us, we cannot give them business. Yeah. So I tell all the new brokers, even sub-brokers in my time, that this is the list of BDMs you have. Talk to them. They'll take you for a coffee. They'll take you for lunch, So it's a no-brainer, guys. Like on someone else's dime, you're going to a nice restaurant, going to a nice coffee shop for a coffee or food and learning, So, and this is how I learned. I mean, back then when I started, I didn't have Lender Spotlight. I did not have access to any of those lenders. I did not have the portals to get into. Now I can go into CMLS portal or First National portal and pull out whatever I want. That's what I give to my sub-brokers. I didn't have it that time, right? Guess where I learned it from? These guys.
Well, we talk about this a lot, like, our Tuesday lender meetings as an example, every Tuesday. And people like yourself and other top producers never miss those, the majority. And if they do, they watch the recording, right? It's amazing how many of our newer brokers or lower producing brokers say they're too busy for that. But the top guys are always there, always like listening, learning, asking questions, right?
It's more critical than ever, that until you learn the products, you can never be successful in this market, which is nothing but rate. The only way to pull those clients out of the rate talk is your extensive product knowledge, is an assurance that you have the solution for them, right? I mean, nowadays, this is how I start my conversation. Tell me, what do we want? Do we want more money or do we want a lower rate? Lower rate, I may not be the best person. More money, yes, you have tried with 2 banks. This is what they gave you. I've got 15 more banks that I can talk to, and we can probably give you 150 to 200K more. And thankfully, because of my experience, I'm usually able to fulfill. So until you have that knowledge, how can you pull them out of the rate talk, right?
I mean, we love when you come to our events because sometimes when the lenders are there presenting, it's very quiet from the audience, but we know for sure that you're going to be asking questions. That's a great thing though, because that is just your continuous pursuit of knowledge and how do you make things work. Yeah. And, I mean, it just brings value to both the lenders because they know what you're going to ask and all of that. And then the brokers sharing the same.
And here I want to share one fine example, this B file that was declined. And I mean, I'm bringing up Home Trust because they are the only ones who were making that exception until now. They are the only ones who will not service student loans until it comes into payment. Every other lender, you have to use 1% for the year. They're the only lenders, right? I don't know if you knew it or not. I learned it.
That's a great tip. Yeah, you're totally correct. Looking ahead, what are your goals for next year?
I'll just go back. 2023, I had the biggest depression era of my mortgage brokering career because I probably lost 25 million worth of business to the rates because that's what I was focusing on. Mm-hmm. Right. In 2021, 2022, we were so proud, we can get the best rates and all that stuff because we could, right? In 2023, I learned it the hard way, oh no, you cannot anymore. That's not how you can continue doing business just on the rates. So 2024, I transformed myself. I learned some stuff. I spoke to mentors. I did some reading. It's mainly mentorship that I said, okay, how to pull people out of the rate game, or drop them off right off the bat, so that you're not wasting their time, your time and lender's time. Right? I mean, it still happens, it still happens in, I would say, 1 out of 10 files that, at the last moment you lose them. But the other 9 files, clients know what they're getting into. They have signed up for it. Unless, they go to the branch 2 days before completion and they scoop them with 0.5% rate, which I don't blame them for anymore. They used to, not anymore, because guess what, they're there to save money, right? So this is how I transformed myself to change my conversation, to keep it positive, keep it education and try to pull them beyond the rate or else drop them right off the bat, right? And then learning more. I mean, commercial mortgages, although I've barely done any, I've just done one, I talked to you about construction, right? I've barely done any, but I've learned a lot. This is me, I learned first and then I applied later. So I took courses from an industry mentor and then I've been applying it. I've been meeting lots of commercial realtors, asking them what they need, learning as I go. Today, I think I can talk about it. I can talk about a commercial mortgage. I can talk about what it takes. I can talk about what's a mixed use, what's a commercial, what's EBITDA, what's DSCR. When I say I know, when I say it, right? I mean, I know what I'm talking, right? Yeah. Same thing with reverse. So
that's just a great example of you having to make a pivot in your business because of the rate, right? And, looking ahead, how do you see the mortgage industry evolving and how are you preparing for it? Do you see anything else coming that's going to cause you to make another shift?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
So far, I mean, it's just that just like everything else, the world is changing every day. And that doesn't just apply to our industry. I think every industry, right? You have to be more alert now than ever to just say, okay, when going gets tough, you have to find a way to become tough yourself. It's become more important. So you have to be on the go every time. It's good and bad in a way. It's good that it keeps you alert. I think it'll save me from any kind of dementia in the future. I keep on reading and studying. But negative part is that, you cannot just, rely upon your style of working as you're doing. So, which is good.
One thing that you've been doing is you've been adding to your team. So you're mentoring other agents. You have newer agents that are all getting better, starting to do business. Is that something you're looking to grow in the future, is adding more bodies to your team?
Yes, I am. It gives me 2 advantages. One, of course, it adds to my revenue.
Yeah.
The other advantages, again, it keeps me abreast. It keeps my edge sharp because the last thing you want is a sub-broker calls you and you're not able to help. Right? Yeah. I mean, when I say not able to help, I mean, sometimes you cannot help them right away, but at least you have the answer and you can circle back to them in like a couple of hours or a few hours or something, whenever the time permits, right? So that's why I'm doing it more. I scrutinize them. It's kind of funny, out of the 6 sub-brokers I have, 4 of them are my ex-clients. That shows the relationship, right?
Shows the loyalty.
Yeah, that shows the loyalty and relationship. And then the other 2, I mean, you guys know, except for one, the other one has also worked with me in another brokerage at a different capacity. But again, he was my friend. So, and yeah, I'm being approached every day. I'm careful in whom I work with, but yes. I plan to increase.
Whether it's your agents or just any new mortgage brokers listening, like what would be your advice that you would give a new agent today?
Yeah, I mean, 3-4 things. First of all, before you start, go out and meet referral partners and ask them for referrals, be product strong. You should know what you are going to offer. Getting a referral is easier than being able to approve the referral, because remember, the first referral you're going to get is going to be one of the toughest ones because they have tried all other resources. They're just throwing it on your way. Let's see. I mean, Elysian ones I lost, now I go back and said, yeah, I could have done it easily, Yeah. I used to think conventional mortgages, TDS is 44. That's what you read in the book, right? And then you realize, oh no, I had Scotia that could go up to 49 with the client, You learn it. So I wish I had learned it before, but even for me, when I say I learned it, I still did not, right? Because I was going by the books.
Yeah.
I was going by the book. I did not learn the practical knowledge, which comes by time. So I tell all younger brokers, make your product knowledge strong. Number 2, whenever you have a file, don't give up. Don't give up until you have tried your last resource, even if it's a credit union or a lender that you do not have access to. If you are successful with the file, you are become a hero in front of your client and the realtor. That takes you a long way.
Maybe a question that might help some of the mentor brokers out there. You're always looking for new information and looking how to learn and grow. If you have one of your brokers come into you asking you how to do something or what a policy is, are you giving them the answer or are you making them go and find it themselves?
I do it 2 ways. If I've explained it to them 3 times already, then I said, okay, we have talked about it 3 times, look into your notes, or go to the lender portal and find it out yourself, and then come back to me and we'll discuss it. I mean, if it's the first time, I make sure that, okay, I give them at least 52% of it and say, okay, you learned that. Now I'm forwarding you an email from this lender. Go through it. It has that, or it has that information. If you understand it, fine. If you don't, come back to me and we'll discuss it.
I like that. So some closing thoughts. What's the best career advice that you've ever received in the mortgage industry?
I would give this credit to Jeremy Hewitt. He was the first person I met. I mean, I've been experienced. So the moment I passed the exam, I said, okay, what should I do? I said, okay, let's go to LinkedIn. So I started connecting with BDMs and the banks and all that stuff. Jeremy was the first one who responded yes. Not only that, he invited me over for lunch. Look at this man's gratefulness. At that time, he was not with the lender. He was the mortgage center manager. So he did not have any direct connection to me. He still invited me over for lunch. After we spoke for 15 minutes, he said, I know you can get clients. That's not a problem. For you have to learn the product, So again, coming back to the same thing. Sorry, I'm repeating myself. Make yourself product strong. Never get stuck to a lender, a product. People told me, eventually you will end up with 2-3 lenders, It has not happened to me. Of course, because of some policies, you have to go to those lenders, but I've always kept my relationships open. That. I mean, lenders with whom I've not even done business for last 1 year, they still invite me to their events. I think the only reason is because I stay in touch with them. When I meet them, I hug them, I talk to them, and I discuss with them, I send them emails. So that's important. And third is never give up. Never give up until you have exhausted all the options.
Well, some really good stuff here. And, just to kind of wrap things up, what is the biggest reason that, one, you chose the Mortgage Architects Network, A Better Way as a brokerage, and what keeps you, here?
Yeah. I mean, I would say it's been the best decision of my life since I became a mortgage broker, joining A Better Way. I won't hide it. I joined Mortgage Architects because of Justin. I thought I owe it to him. So when I left my previous brokerage, there was nothing wrong with that. They were amazing people. I was doing well and stuff, but it's just that, you have that feeling, this guy has done so much for me. So, is there a way I can give it back to him? So when I learned that he's a mortgage architect CEO, I said, okay, I want to join Mortgage Architects. I know if you're running an organization, I'm sure it must be doing well. And that's when I had a conversation with Jason and I came on board and everything happened, So, but that was when you guys weren't even there. So I should say it or not, but I will, regardless. I had second thoughts before you guys came on board, for some reasons.
For obvious reasons, yeah.
And, nothing wrong with the old owners. They were amazing, they were too good. But I think the kind of focus you guys have shown, you just simply turn the tables around, when it comes to support, when it comes to training, when it comes to technology, when it comes to openness to ideas, when it comes to, listening to the criticism and taking action on it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So these are the few things because of which I like to stick to you guys. I mean, we talk as friends, I mean, we don't talk as, that you are the brokerage owner and I'm a broker, Yeah. I mean, I get full respect in the sense, and that's what you expect, And whenever I've reached out to you guys, I don't even think twice before calling you guys, I said, okay, I know one of them will pick up the phone and I'll have the answer, or slightly later I'll have the answer. So this open door policy, this is great. This is what everyone wants, whether you are a senior broker, or you're a mid-level broker or a newbie. You need that, the commitment, the openness to technology, young ideas. So yeah, I think I told you that last year. I think I told you that also. I'm saying it on air. As long as I'm an independent mortgage broker, I don't think I'm going to change unless you throw me out.
Well, that's not happening.
That's definitely not happening. You've been just an incredible partner for us. And yeah, you're just so helpful to our team. And we really appreciate working with you, and having you on the show today is a breath of fresh air. So thank you.
All thanks to you.
I can't ask any more questions than that. You're a pillar in the A Better Way group, one of the most supportive, greatest guys that we work with. I think the industry can speak for that, because I know you're all over every forum talking to people, whether they're with A Better Way or not at A Better Way. And that's just what this industry needs, is learning from people like you that have built something very successful and continue to, spread the path for future success.
One last thing, I've worked in 4 or 5 different industries. This is the only industry where I found that your competition is not your competition.
That's a great point.
True.
Yeah.
We help each other so wholeheartedly. You ask a question on any Facebook group related to our industry, you get like 20 people, pouring out replies, all out. Sometimes when people ask questions and they do not put the location or loan to value or something, I said, hey guys, put that and do yourself a favor. But by then 7 other people have sent in different replies, although they're not helpful, because they don't know if you're asking it for an insured file or a conventional file, which I think I should know before I answer the question. It really humbles me. I said, okay, these guys are great. They're not even trying to not judge in the sense like ask him. And I'm the one who said, okay, put all this information and I'll give you a correct answer. But the other people don't, so that's amazing. So we don't treat each other as competition. And believe me, I have never lost any business to a broker I know. And I think I know quite a few of us.
Yeah. No, that's a great point. Yeah. It's the most collaborative industry I've ever been a part of. Well, thanks again, Anil. This was excellent, and we really appreciate you. So thank you once again.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for bringing me over. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Okay. Thanks for listening, everyone, and on to the next. Thank you for tuning in. If you found value in this show, please subscribe to our channel on your preferred platform. We're available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. Your support is incredibly appreciated. We also welcome your reviews and feedback, which are crucial in helping us deliver outstanding educational content. Feel free to share your thoughts. A 5-star review would be fantastic if you think we earned it. Lastly, a vital announcement about Backpack Buddies, our chosen charity for 2025. This remarkable organization addresses a hidden hunger issue many are unaware of in British Columbia. While school districts provide meals during school hours, numerous children face food scarcity at home, particularly during the weekends. Backpack Buddies steps in to support these vulnerable children, ensuring they have easy-to-prepare, familiar food for weekends. This is achieved through collaborations with schools and an extensive distribution network. Your contribution can make a significant difference. With just $20, you can give a child in need a food bag from Backpack Buddies filled with enough meals and snacks to sustain them over the weekend and more. Once again, thank you for listening, and see you on the next one.